Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode with your girl Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. Sorry that I'm like 2 minutes late because for the last 2 minutes I have been working on my phone trying to flip. Yes, been pushing it, and then I had to restart my whole phone. Life, you gotta love it. All right, anyway, so what we are working on today is system of equations. So last night, we were talking about what you guys may need help with this time. So I was like, all right, some people mention graphing, some people mention like looking at some word problems or just like how to get things started. And I said, you know what? Let me do a combination of everything. So that's what we are going to do. So for a system of equations, I'm going to look at it basically in 3 different ways. Now, 2 out of the 3 ways will probably work best when you're doing the GED, the ASVAB, and even the ACCUPLACER and TEAS test. But one of them will actually get you to your answer a lot quicker, and we're probably going to focus on that particular way. So what we're looking at, let me take a zoom. When you're doing system of equations, you can look at it in one of 3 ways. You can actually look at it graphically. So you want to see when those 2 equations or 2 lines are going to intersect. I know, if I may back up for some people, that system of equations is basically 2 or more equations that you're looking for when they are intersecting, if at any. Okay, so we can do it by graphing them. We could do it algebraically, one of 2 ways, either doing through substitution or we can do it through elimination. So when we're looking at a system of equations, and I know there's an advanced version which is using of matrices, but I'm trying to get at least to the nitty of the gritty that will get you to it a lot faster. I'm going to show you the first time all 3 ways, but then I'm really going to emphasize on the elimination piece and then showing the result graphically. Substitution can work here and there, but usually elimination kind of gets it to a little bit faster. All right, this is at the tail end of Algebra 1, and it is also seen in Algebra 2, to answer your question. Now, when we're looking at a system, let me slide this over and then shrink it just a lot. not even a little bit anymore. We're going to just shrink it a lot. So let's work on our first example. So we're looking at when y equals x plus 2. And we're going to look at when y equals, let's say 3x minus 2. Let me see if you guys can see that. All right, that'll work. Now, if we were to basically figure out where the point of intersection is, first off, both of my equations are in our slope-intercept form. So anytime they ask you for the equation of the line, you should always be thinking of y equals mx plus b. Okay, that is the equation of the line. I know some people will say, oh, well, you got point slope. Well, you use point slope to get to the equation of the line. Okay, so that's just one of those tactics to help you get to the equation of the line. But since they're both in slope-intercept form, we can do this one of 3 ways, and I'm going to show all 3 ways. So now the first way is graphically. So I know there's some of you guys that are saying, man, I suck at graphing. Well, let me show you how you're probably going to unsuck at graphing. So we can keep it like this. All right. So I'm going to use each of my bubble to represent. And I like to make my 5 line a little bit longer than all the other ones. And the reason why I do that, it's easy to find. Now, I want to count by ones. So I'm just going to put a 1 here and a 1 here. So I'm representing that I'm counting by ones. Now, this is the purple line. My y equals x plus 2. Where do I start is always this y-intercept. So your y-intercept is always the constant. So I know for a lot of you guys, usually the problem is I don't know where to start when it comes to graphing. You always look at your b value, okay? Always look at your constant, the number without the x and the y. And you're going to, since it's a positive 2, that means your first point, if I start at the origin, I'm just going to go up 2 on the y-axis. Okay, remember, y's go up and down, x's go left to right. So from this point, we're looking at our slope, and the slope is the coefficient in front of the x. So if you don't see a number there, it's assumed to be a 1. Now here's the thing, remember slope is rise over run. So it's naturally a fraction. But if it's a 1, in order to change a whole number to a fraction, you put a 1 underneath it. So if I had a 2 here, which I'll show you with the 3, if I had a 2 here, all I had to do is put 2 over 1. Okay, anytime it's a whole number, you put it over 1 when you're looking at the slope. And the slope is always the coefficient or the number in front of your x. So from here, I'm going to go up 1 because it was a positive 1, and to the right 1 because it is a positive 1. It's a positive slope. There's no negative sign in front. So if I want from this point, I could do the same thing. Up 1 to the right 1. I can keep going up 1 to the right 1. As you can tell, I can keep going all the way to infinity. Now, since this was a positive slope, I can also do something else. If my slope is positive, I can also have it represented as -1 over -1. The reason why I do that is because a negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. So again, if I start at my y-intercept, I can go down 1, but this time I can go to the left 1 and plot my point. I can go down 1 and to the left 1. And what do you notice? Those 2 additional points that we just made also helps with that line. So we got our lines right here. Okay, so what we did was we graphed out the equation of that line, y equals x plus 2. So now for the other one, my y-intercept this time is a -2. So if I'm starting here at the origin, I'm going to go down 2 and make my point. So that's going to be my starting point. Now from this point, now I need to look at my slope. As you can tell, the slope is a 3, but slopes or rate of change are naturally fractions, rise over run. So if I take this 3 and I put it over 1, now I didn't change the value of the 3, I just made it into a fraction. So from this y-intercept, I'm going to follow the direction. So the 3 is in the numerator. That's your rise. And the 1 is in the denominator. That's your run. So what you're going to do is you're going to rise up 3 because it's a positive 3. And then you're going to run over 1 to the right because it's a positive 1. So from here, going up 3, 1, 2, 3, to the right 1. Drawing my point. Going up 1, 2, 3, to the right 1. Draw my point. Go up 1, 2, 3, to the right 1. Draw my point. Now do you see why I like using the dot grill? Using this dot grid kind of helps it out a little bit. 1, 2, 3 over 1, 1, 2, 3 over 1. So it's right about here. Okay. So now, because you drew this line, notice they intersect at this point right here. Okay, so we have our purple line, we have our orange line. So now we just need to find the coordinates of that point. So by having an even grid to do it, it's easier to follow along and to graph it. So if I start at the origin, I can figure out my x value of that point, this point right here. I will go over 1, 2. So it's lined up with the 2 of your x value. Then I go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's at the 4th on the y-intercept. So your point of intersection is at 2, 4. All right. Hey, Danny, how are you? Thanks for the follows, everyone, and thanks for the tapping. Let's go. All right. That's how you graph a system of equation. It's a system because you have 2 equations and you're putting it on the same grid. And what you're doing is you're looking for a point of intersection. Where exactly they're going to cross. Yep, it's that easy, Jess. Right? Live. We learn all this stuff in math, but only use 10% of it. Actually, if you went shopping, you use this all the time. The comparison of prices. I know a lot of people say, oh, I'll just pick the cheapest one. But then you're also looking at the values. So when you're looking at the 2 types of pricing, you're trying to see which one is going to be your best value. That's system of equation. You're welcome. I know. But I believe you. I know there are times that I feel that, hey, you're learning all this stuff and you're just like, why? You know, because you don't have anyone to tell you why. You know, when you're comparing, this is usually used for shopping. If you are actually going to be going into business and figure out which is going to be the best value for you, that's system of equation. Okay, so you're figuring out what system is going to work. Which price will be the best value for you? Because just sometimes it's cheaper doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best one if you're looking for something to last longer or if you just want something that's going to be quick and dirty and then you can just get it done. All right? System of equations, babies. Hey, Roxy. Where you're lacking. All right. And this is the perfect place for you. All right? Not a problem. So, and it's just true. It's just true facts because we all have that question and we're sitting here every year learning a whole bunch of stuff, but no one's actually took the time to sit down and explain why. And most of the time, especially at younger ages, you guys change your perspective of what you want to do almost every week. Like 1 minute you want to be a songwriter, next minute you want to be an influencer, the next minute you want to be an astronaut, the next minute, like, trust me, I was getting dizzy by this one kid that wanted to do so many things. And it's like, all right, well, let me make sure that you're covered because they're using a lot of these on interviews now. I had a student that applied for a receptionist job, and they made her do a system of equations as part of their interview. The girlfriend is going to be answering phones. They had this math problem on her interview. Crazy, but here we are. All right. So, as promised, I know, right? As promised, I'm going to show you one of two ways. Now, see, since we were already into y equals, okay, since our inequalities, let's get my highlighter. Here it is. Since our two equations are already in y equals, it'll be easy for you to do graphing because it's already in that slope-intercept form. But what happens if we get an equation that's not directly in slope-intercept form? That's when it gets a little hairy scary, okay? That's when it gets all kinds of funky. All right, so let's try this one. I'm gonna see if I can put it in colors that we can see. Where am I? Oh, here we go. All right, so if we have, next example. So let's see if we had 4x plus 3y equals -5. And then we have -2x plus 2y equals 6. Okay. For Algebra 1 honors, you might have 1 or 2, Matthew. So this might help you a little bit. Okay. Hey, Janice. Okay. Now here's my next question. Did you have system of equation? What was the last thing that you worked on, math? What was the last thing that you worked on? Do you remember? All right. So we have 4x plus 3y equals -5. -2x plus 2y equals 6. Now, this is going to be the trick. Take a look at your x and y's. If you don't have any x and y's that does not have, let's put it this way, that has a leading coefficient of 1. Basically, are there any x and y's that are by themselves? It's quadratic formula and graphing. Quadratics. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of quadratic stuff on your exam. And if anything, you might have one system if your teacher covered systems. But you're definitely going to have more so the quadratic formula and stuff. Like anything with factoring, finding the discriminant, and what else? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, polynomials. You're going to see a lot of that. Okay? All right. Yep. So you're going to see mostly of the quadratic formula. You're going to see a lot of the factoring, and you'll probably get like 1, maybe 2 systems. Okay? So now, this is when I'm going to look at, I could do it by graphing. If I do it by graphing, that means I have to have my equation in y equals mx plus b. If it's not in y equals mx plus b, you're going to have to put it there. Another way that you can, especially if you're taking those exams that I've been talking about, the GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, all them, they don't really care about the work. They care about, did you get the right answer? So the way that you take those tests are going to be different how, like, say, Matt is going to take his test. Okay, I think he said tomorrow. Okay, so it's going to be, yeah. So it's going to be different from how he's going to take his test. because the way he's going to take the test, he has to show all his work. Whereas for those that are doing a GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, TEAS test, they just care about did you pick A, B, C, or D, sometimes E. So in this case, we're going to hit on what's called elimination. Okay, so when I come over here, I want to eliminate one of my variables. Either I want to eliminate the x's or the y's. Here's a little secret. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same answer because the answer is going to be a point of intersection, just like how we did here for the graphing. So now, let's say I want to get rid of my x's. Yeah, my x. Okay, so if I want to get rid of my x's, I have a 4 and I have a -2. This is a good little prospect because one is positive and the other one is negative. So now I got to figure out what number does 4 and 2 have in common. So if I go with the 2 times table, okay, the LCMs, and if I go with the 4 times table, what number do they both have in common? It's okay, Jeremy. It's okay. We're just here to just take our time. Okay, so we're saying they got 2's, but in the 4 times table, they don't have 2's in common. They have what? We're not looking for the GCF. We're looking for the LCMs. There you go, Roxy. I was waiting for somebody in my afternoon, peoples. There you go. Okay, because if I'm doing this, I'm looking for my LCMs. If I'm factoring it and making it smaller, that's when I'm doing the GCFs. If I am basically using it for multiplication, I'm looking for the LCMs. All right, so that means the 4 times table, you got 4, 8, 12, 16. For the 2 times table, you got 2, 4, 6, 8. Just stopping there, what do they have in common? The least number that they have in common is 4. So that means I need to work to get this 2 into a 4. What I could do, I can multiply it by 2, but instead of multiplying just this term, I got to multiply the whole entire equation by 2. When I do that, I'm distributing this 2 to everything, including the 6. A lot of people forget about that. So when I'm saying multiplying everything by 2, I'm multiplying everything by 2. So, not a problem. So we have 2 times -2. That gives us -4x. 2 times 2y, that gives me a positive 4y, equals 2 times 6, which gives me 12. Now, the equation that we have on top, I'm just going to rewrite. So that gives me 4x plus 3y equals -5. Let me slide that over for you. Okay, because if we don't multiply everything inside this parenthesis, you're going to get an answer, but it's going to be majorly wrong. Okay, because anytime you do any kind of manipulating, if you're going to be doing any kind of multiplication, you have to multiply everything. You cannot leave that 6 out. You cannot leave those 2's out. Okay. So when do you use the least common multiple? Is when you are trying to simplify. Okay. And when you're trying to manipulate. You find the greatest common factor, hence the word factor, is when you are factoring. Okay, when you're trying to break them up into little factors is when you find the GCF. Okay, anything else, especially like with fractions, you want the LCM, least common multiple. That's when you're going to be doing the multiplication. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we have our two equations. We're going to, as I said for elimination, we're going to add these two equations together. Remember how we used to add back in the day before life came around and just jacked everything up? So we're going to add these two together. When we add the 4x plus the negative 4x, that gives me 0x. And we don't need the 0 because we don't need a placeholder, because we still have our y's involved. So now we're doing 3y plus 4y. That gives me 7y. And we have negative 5 plus 12. When the signs are opposite, you're subtracting. When the signs are the same, you're adding. So if the signs are different, I'm subtracting. So it's like 12 minus 5. That will give me a positive 7. Okay. How do you add? So if I have my x's lined up, my y's lined up, and my constants lined up. So I'm looking at it vertically. Just like how we used to do before algebra came into our lives, right? So when we do, if I have I have 4 donuts and I ate 4 donuts, I don't have any donuts left. So that means these cancel out to give me a 0. So now I have, 3 gummy bears, and for some reason I was able to buy 4 more gummy bears. That means I have 7 gummy bears now. Then over here, negative 5 plus 12. So if I have $12 and I spent $5, I have $7 left. Okay. Guillermo, you okay? All right. Nice, Roxy. Do I offer private lessons? Yes, I do. Just go ahead and DM me. Just direct message me. Okay. Follow and direct message me, because I notice when people just direct message me without following, it goes in some weird spot on TikTok, and I just have to remind myself to go into that weird spot. Oh, good. Yes, thanks, Jess. All right. Well, thank you, Kiki. I appreciate it. Yep, and you could do matrices through this, but I'm going to try to keep it simple as best I can, because now we want to solve for y. So 7y is the same as saying 7 times y. If I look in between the 7 and the y and I don't see a plus or a minus sign, that means I'm multiplying. So the inverse of multiplication is going to be division. So I'm dividing both sides by 7, because our goal when we're trying to solve, we're trying to get our variable by itself. So now 7 divided by 7, that gives me 1. So we know that our y value for the point of intersection is going to be 1. So now we need the other part of the point. Remember, our point is always an x and a y. If we take a look at here, we have our x value, which was 2, and our y value, which is 4. So we found the y value, which is awesome. But now I need to go back, and here's my suggestion. Go back to the original equations. You get to pick, before I even multiplied the 2, you get to pick one of the 2 equations. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same answer. So let's just say, I don't know, we pick the first one, right? We'll pick the first one. Why not? So we have a 4x plus 3, but instead of the y, the one that we got, we're going to substitute for the y. And we're going to equal negative 5. Okay. And if you don't believe me, I will even put the other one. I'm going to put it over here. So negative 2, oops, sorry, because I forgot we still have an x here. Negative 2 plus 2 times my y, which is 1. So just in case you're like, I don't know which equation to do, you guys stress yourselves out trying to pick the equation that you forget that you were doing math. So I'm going to do one equation at a time. So let me cover this one up for right now. And let's work on this one. So 4x comes down. 3 times 1, that gives me 3, equals negative 5. So we're trying to solve for x. So that means right now that 4x is going to stay right where it is. That means this plus 3 needs to go to the other side. So we need to do the opposite of what we see. So the opposite of plus is minus. Then this 4x, that comes down. So does the equal sign. Negative 5 minus 3. Since both of them are negative, my answer is also going to be negative, and I'm going to add. Because when the signs are the same, you add them together. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for the roses and everything. So that gives me a negative 8. Think of it this way. You owe somebody $5. Then you needed another $3. That means you owe them $3. So now you owe them $8. Okay? And we have 4x is equal to negative 8. So we want to isolate our variable. 4x means 4 times x. The inverse of multiplication, that's division. Yep. So we're going to divide by 4. So 4 divided by 4 gives me 1, and we can bring that 1x or x down. Then negative 8 divided by 4, that gives me a negative 2. So we got x is equal to negative 2. So for those that weren't sure that we're going to get the same exact thing, let me bring back the other equation. Let me do that one. So we have our negative 2x. And you don't have to do this twice, guys. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. Okay? I'm just showing you to prove to you that it doesn't matter which of the equations you pick. So here I would subtract 2. So my 2's will cancel out. I don't need the 0 as a placeholder because I still have that negative 2x. And then 6 minus 2 gives me a positive 4. I have $6. I spent 2. I still have $4. Now, we're going to divide both sides by the negative 2 because we want to get our x by itself. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 gives me 1 or 1x. And then 4 divided by negative 2 gives me a negative 2. So see, it doesn't matter which one of those two original equations you pick. You're going to get the same answer. So now let's finish out this lovely question. So we want to know what the point of intersection is. So my x value is negative 2 and my y value is 1. So if and when I graph those two equations, they're going to intersect at negative 2, 1. Now, if I was taking the test, the GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER, remember, it's a multiple choice test. Okay, so they're giving you options. After you found what y is, take a look at your options and look at your y values. Remember, think of the alphabet, X, Y, Z. So X then y follows, right? So if they give you -1, that means this last digit right here in the parenthesis, it should give you a 1. That last digit in the parentheses should be a 1. If you look at your answer choices and you only see one of those answers with a 1, that's your answer. Click it, bubble it, keep it moving. Because remember, this is a timed assessment, okay? If it's between two answers, now I'm going to pick one of those two equations to find my x. And once I found my x, boom, I'm done. Okay, then you find your answer, which in our case was -2, 1. All right. Yes. Thank you for the follow, guys. Thank you, Janice, for reminding people to tap. Please tap along. I'm going to need your support. Definitely need your support. And I might also need some financial help as well. I love doing all this stuff on TikTok, but I'm going to be truthful. Things are getting kind of tight for me, and I do want to keep going with this. I also am offering some services. If you like the book that I am using, that was one thing I forgot to put on here. I actually created this book, okay? A place for you to put your formulas, and then a place where you can put your steps. So I give you some room for doing some graphs, some problem solving. And as we're going to continue on this side, there's also a graph side, like a grid side. So I have all of these notes that I've been doing. I've been taking some pages and just sticking in here, taping it on in, and just actually doing it. 100 pages altogether. And then, yeah, because I'm going to do more. Just want to do this little side plug before we go into it. But in addition to this, I have what's called the factor sheet, okay? There's 2 pages of it. It goes all the way to 200, all right? So if you were, like, say, a little stuck with, like, say, your multiplications, or maybe even breaking down radicals, or Matthew, as you're breaking down your factoring, you can use this factor sheet, okay, to help you understand some of these concepts. In addition to, say, order of operations, we have a little bit of linear and quadratic equations. So all those equations and things that you've learned in math that you're probably like, ooh, I don't know, including the unit circle. Because this book is basically designed for 7th grade all the way up to adults. Okay, just to use it as a reminder. Oh, thanks, Kay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Kiki. It is clever. All right. So even to keep in mind, just for even next year, because before we know it, I'm not going to say it, but you all know what's going on, because look at the date. It's like almost the middle. No, it is the middle of June. I'm like, good gracious. But if you can, that would be great. Okay, I am accepting donations if you want to copy and paste, and we're going to do this. But I am going to do some more problems, so don't disappear, okay? The book is for sale, and I also have it for digital. So how do you get one? If you want to get the book, you can go on my TikTok shop. Believe it or not, I have one. And it gives you 3 different copies. So we have this copy here. I also have this copy here, as well as, let me see if I can find my other one. Oh, here it is. It's underneath everything else. And this copy here. 3 different covers, but the same information inside. Okay? So if you're just like, ooh, I really like your notes, I wish I could have them. Guess what? I make copies of my notes. And what's that called? Audrey's notes. So remember back in the day we had something called Cliff Notes? I just use Audrey's notes. So with Audrey's notes, it's a copy of all the notes that I've done on TikTok since February the 2nd. And it just has bits and pieces. But the one thing that I like about it is you can follow along with my notes. Okay, so prime example for this one, graphing linear equations of a line. So I have like the formulas, I have the steps, but then I have this QR code. If you scan this QR code, it will take you directly to the live that's connected to these notes. So you can use it for mediation. It's great for like homeschool parents. It's great for homeschool students. And then while you're watching it, we have a mood tracker that you can just circle up. Like, okay, before the lesson, how'd you feel? You know, during the lesson, again, it's a live recording, so you can always pause it. You can always rewind it. And then after the lesson, how did you feel with that? Okay. Oh, good. Oh, so good, Pocahontas. I love that. All right, I love when you guys are doing well. Nice, thank you. Oh, you did? Well, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate you. Yes. So if you want the Audrey's notes and you want them like right here, right now, you can get a digital copy, and I'm actually running a flash sale on there. I normally have the books at $25, but if you want it for the flash sale, there is a link in my bio. You can go directly to that, and you will only get the digital copies for $11 each for books 1, 2, and 3. Take a look. All right. So that's going to be that little plug. There is more. So can you spell your name on the notebook? What do you mean can't spell my name? It's the same name that's on my profile. Audrey Codner. You got that? All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, see, here's the thing, Mac. There's a lot of people that are still doing algebra. Remember, we're not the only ones in the world. Everyone's being born. Oh, there's another one that was born. Oh, there's another one that was born. Almost every few seconds, there's another kid that's born. So, all right. So, let's take a look. Let's see what we can do, right? So, just because there's some people in algebra right now, you never know. All right. So let's take a look at this one. Let's try. So we have negative 2x plus 10y equals 2. And then we have 5x minus 25y equals 3. Okay, so I was kind of hovering over there. So you bought 2 of them. You have 2 more different ones. You bought 2 of which ones? Blue. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Pocahontas. I appreciate that. Use overnight. Oh, okay. Oh, the workbooks. Yeah, I just always had these 3. There was one that I did that was for 4th through 6th. Okay, if you have anybody in 4th through 6th grade, I have these with the wider math tiles. So it helps them keep track of their 1s, their 10s, their 100s. And they also have the resource pages in the back. Some of them are a little different, like I have here, where it comes with the fractions. It comes with some of the fractions operations, decimals operations, and some other the basic concepts, and even like a conversion chart. So, but there will be a newer version, of course. There's always going to be a new book because I'm always thinking of how better to sell some of these things. Okay. I am not good at physics, but I do know someone that is. So if you are serious and you need a physics person, let me know. Just go ahead and DM me, and then I can share the information for you. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. All right. Yep, so anytime I can help. So now, let's see if we can tackle this, okay? All right, perfect. So again, quick scan of the X's and Y's. I don't have any of the X's and Y's that are just by themselves, okay? Every one of them has a coefficient in front of it. So now, in my suggestion, I know you're seeing 10 and 25, and you're like, oh yeah, let me just divide everything by 5s. Then you're going to be dealing with some lovely fractions up here in the first equation. Make it easy for yourself. Go with the lower numbers. Plus, this 2 is negative, that 5 is positive. So the signs are already opposite. So when I go into doing the addition later on, it'll be easy for me to eliminate. So this is why we're going to shoot for, where's my red? Here we go. I need to do the multiplications of both equations. Because 2 and 5, so think of the least common multiple. You have your 2 times table, you have your 5 times table. What is the lowest number that both times table have in common? Okay. Hey, Purdy. All right, so they got 10. Good, Pog. So they have 10. There you go. I think we're just missing good 10. Hey, Cookie. 10. Ruthie, how are you? 10. All right, Sweet Cakes 3, 10. There you go. Julie, I think we're missing something, Julie. There you go. Sandra, 10. Good. All right. So there you go, Julie. All right, so in order for us to make this 2 into a 10, I need to multiply it by 5. And in order for me to make this 5 into a 10, I need to multiply it by 2. And what I mean by that, yes, I figured that. So what I mean by that, I'm distributing. Let's look at the first equation. We just need to do one equation at a time. My blue sheet. All right. So when we do this, we're doing the distributive property. So we're multiplying 5 to everything in that first equation. So we should get a negative 10x plus 50y equals 10. Yes, we are distributing, Sandra. Good. All right. So let me slide that over. So 5 times negative 2x gives me negative 10x. 5 times 10y gives me 50y equals 5 times 2 gives me 10. So that takes care of that top equation. So now we're going to focus on the bottom equation. And let me change colors for that one. So we're going to distribute this 2 to everything in its equation. So 2 times 5x, that gives me a 10x. 2 times negative 25y gives me a negative 50y. And then 2 times 3, that gives me a 6. Okay, are we good so far? Okay. So now here, all right, thanks for the follow. Right here, we're going to add those 2 equations together vertically. So we have a negative 10x plus 10x, that gives me a 0x. But then we have a 50y plus negative 50y, that also gives me a 0. So on the left-hand side of this equal sign, I got a 0. But that's on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have 10 plus 6, which gives me 16. So 0 can't equal 16, right, Purdy? Right? So what's happening to these two lines when we don't have a proper solution? Pog is saying it doesn't intersect. Okay? So that means when you have a no solution, I'm going to put a line through that equal sign because guess what? 0 doesn't equal 16. Although sometimes you may work a job and you're like, they think that, hey, $16 an hour, that's what we pay you. But this part, we're not going to pay you. Right? And they think that some of the extra, oh, you could just do this one extra job. You know, we're not going to pay you. But even though you get $16 an hour, you know, yeah, the sarcasm in my voice. All right, good. So that means they don't intersect, they are parallel. Good. So Matt saying parallel, Sandra, the original, Michael, parallel. Okay, so this is no solution. So that means our two lines are not intersecting. When their two lines are not intersecting, that means we have parallel lines. What else do we know about parallel lines? What else do we know about parallel lines? Yep, so parallel, no solution. Okay, endless, no solution. There's something else that they always ask about systems. Yep, they never meet, but there's something else. More so not the physical, well, it's not the physical attributes about the lines. It's about the equations. What is it about the equations that we know about parallel lines? Yep, the lines are going to be infinite. Good. You guys are giving me really good characteristics. But there's one thing. Something even basic. Yeah, there are infinite lines. Let me help you. What about their slopes? Okay, so the lines never cross. They are going to be infinite. But what about the slopes of parallel lines? There we go, Michael. They're the same. Okay, so parallel lines always have the same slope. Different y-intercepts, but the same slopes. Let me prove it to you. Let me take that first equation, that negative 2x plus 10y is equal to 2. So if I want to solve this equation for y, that means this negative 2x, or just a 2x, needs to go to the other side of the equal sign. So since it's a minus 2x, I'm going to add 2x. So this gives me 10y is equal to 2x plus 2. I can't combine these two because this 2 doesn't have an x, but this one does. So I'm slowly but surely getting into what's called slope-intercept form, that y equals mx plus b. So now I want to get rid of my 10 because we want to solve for y. Oops. Didn't feel like I was, Sorry, I have to do that puzzle piece thingy to tell people that, yes, I'm still here. Do not do anything. All right. So I want to divide both sides by 10. So 10 divided by 10 gives me 1y, or just y. Then I have 2/10 x. 2/10 can be reduced by 2 because 2 and 10 are both even numbers, and the number that they will have in common, GCF, okay, will be 2. So 2 divided by 2 will give me 1, and 10 divided by 2 will give me 5. So that's how I reduce 2/10 to 1/5. And of course, we have our plus sign, and the same situation with this 2/10 gives me 1/5. So that is one equation. All right, good. So that's one equation. Now, going with the bottom equation, you're probably like, whew, this is a lot. Okay, normally, once I see no solution, I'm looking at my answer choices on the GED. I'm looking at my answer choices in the test. But right now, I'm just showing you the why. Okay, so normally we will not do all this work on one problem. Once we got to here, you bubble in no solution, click on it, move on. Okay, but just for the instance, I just wanted to show you the why. Okay, sometimes a lot of people do not do that. So we're looking at our original, which is 5x minus 25y equals 3. So we're trying to solve this for y. So we're going to subtract the 5x. So now we have negative 25y is equal to negative 5x plus 3. So we need to solve this for y. So I need to divide both sides, or everything really, by negative 25. So we have y equals, a negative divided by a negative gives me what? Okay, a negative divided by a negative gives me, yes, a positive 1/5 again. Good, because 5 and 25, they both have 5 in common. So 5 divided by 5 will give me 1, and 25 divided by 5 will give me 5. Okay, a positive divided by a negative, that gives me a negative. When the signs are opposite, when you're multiplying or dividing, your answer is always going to be negative. Now, 3 divided by 25, the only thing that 3 and 25 have in common is 1. So we don't have the same y-intercept, but we do have the same slopes. So instead of doing all of this work, okay, it's just best to know that parallel lines have the same slope. All right, good. Good, Aaron. Good, La Loca. Jess. JB, how are you? Okay, nice job. Well, thank you, Sandra. Appreciate it. Is that Swapsy? That's a new one. Welcome in. Thank you for the follow. All right. Learn something new? All right, good. See, it makes me happy when you guys learn something. All right. Now, if I had to, let's see if I can do a couple more. Good. Good to hear. All right, so let's go with right here. So if we have x minus 7y is equal to negative 11. And if you're probably saying, hey, Audrey, like, when are we going to go back to the graphic? What happened to that? It's like, we will. Okay. We're going back to it right now. Oh, well, thank you, Jess. Appreciate it. Okay, you too, Roxy. Thank you for stopping in. I greatly appreciate it. I'll see you this week. Okay. So now, first thing that we're looking at the x and the y's. And I noticed that the x looks like it doesn't have a coefficient, but in which it does. It's understood that it has a 1 as your coefficient. So what you could do is we could do what's called substitution, and trust me, substitution takes forever. Now, I'm not sure if Matt is still here. Matt, if you're still here, I will go through the substitution to help you with the review of it for your test tomorrow. But if you're not here, I'm going to do either the graphing or the elimination. So I'll wait a couple seconds to see if Matt is still here. And if I'm all sniffy, I'm so sorry, guys. The pollen is like ridiculous today. Absolutely ridiculous. Hello, Robert. How are you? All right. And while I am waiting, so if anyone wants to donate, I will greatly appreciate it. You can get me either Cash App, either Classroom Consultant, Venmo, or if you're going to use Zelle, make sure you DM me first. I don't want to put too much of my stuff out there. Okay. All right. So I guess Maddie is not here. All right. So let's look at it graphically. Okay. Let's look at this graphically. So this first equation, we want to solve it for y, okay? Anytime you have it in this type of format, we can solve it for y. So I'm going to take it, I'll take it over here. So if I have my x minus 7y is equal to negative 11, if I want to solve for y, that means I want to have my y by itself right where it is. So the x I need to get rid of. Now this is what gets a lot of people. We need to look in front of the x. When we look at inequality, we always go for, oh, this is subtraction, so I have to add x on both sides. No. This minus sign is acting as a negative for the 7. Not for the x. The x actually has a positive 1 in front of it. So what we're going to do is the opposite, which is subtract x on both sides. Okay. Yes, I do, Rosa. We're actually having a little sale about it, and I'm going to talk about that after this problem. Okay, so stick with me, okay? All right. So when we subtract the x on both sides, x minus x, they'll cancel out to give me a 0. But I don't need that placeholder of a 0 because we still have this negative 7y still here. And then on the right-hand side, I'm going to try to keep it in slope-intercept form. So that's why I'm going to put the minus x first, then minus 11. So from here, I need to get rid of the negative 7 because it's negative 7y. If I don't see a plus or a minus sign in between the x, the 7 and the y, that means it's multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is going to be division. So you're dividing everything by that negative 7 because we want to isolate our variable, which is the y. So a negative divided by a negative will give me a positive. So there's a 1 that's in front of that x. So it's a positive 1/7 x. So my slope is going to rise up 1 and run to the right 7. Okay? The reason why it's positive, because negative divided by negative gives me positive. Yes, divorce that -7, exactly. So now we have negative divided by negative. This will give me a positive. And then we have 11/7. Now, since this is going to be our starting point to graph, it's kind of tough to figure out what 11/7 is. So if you think, okay, well, I know how many 7s can go into 11 evenly. I know that there is 1. So if I take my 11 minus 7, that will give me a 4. So sometimes it's kind of like, all right, well, if it gives me a 4, and if I put a decimal down, because this is what I'm trying to do right here. I'm trying to do 11 divided by 7. So I know that 1/7 can go into 11. And the reason why I'm doing this by hand is because when you take this GED, you can't use a calculator. And we're so engraved that you have to use a calculator. Now, if you want, you can figure out 1 and 4/7. You can leave it as a mixed number. Or you could say, all right, well, how many 7s can go into 40 without going over? Well, that will be a 5, because that gives me 35. Because if I do 6, that'll give me 42. That'll be too much. Just by doing this, although it's going to give you 5 as a remainder, you don't have to keep going. This just gives you an idea roughly where you're going to put your y-intercept. And here's the trick: when you put your dot, make it nice and big. Because you're trying to get somewhere around 1.5. Okay? So this is the reason why I kind of stop right here, because it just gives me an idea of roughly I want to be. But if I want to write it as an example, so I can say 1 and 4/7 right here. But I do the division, because if I leave it as a mixed number, I'm still giving it its true value. I'm not rounding my 4/7. Okay? I'm just using this to get an idea of where to start on the y-axis. Okay? Good. So, that's one equation. All right? I'm going to put a little something around it. So now, we have to do the other equation. So the other equation is our 5x plus 2y equals -18. We're trying to solve that equation for y. So the first thing I should do is subtract my 5x. Then you have your 2y is equal to -5x minus 18. Then I'm going to divide everything by 2. So when I divide everything by 2, I get my y equals. I'm going to have my -5/2 x. And then luckily, -18 divided by +2, that'll give me a -9. You want this to be a fraction. The coefficient of your x, you want to be a fraction because that's your slope. Same here. That 1/7 x, we want to keep it as a fraction because that's your slope. And remember, slope is your rise over your run. It's easier for you to move. right? So now that we have our two equations, let's draw our graph. How that got there. Let's see. The -7. And that's a +1 something. All right. Just wanted to see how much of the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Okay. So just like most graphs, I'm going to put my ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nice and large. Okay, that's 10 down here. So this is -10. This is a -5. Here's a +5. All right. So now, let's go with the blue one first. Why not? As soon as I can find my blue pen. Here we go. All right. So remember what I said? This 1 4/7 is going to be roughly 1.5. So on my y-axis, this is going to be 1. So 1.5 is roughly here. So somewhere in here. Notice I make it nice and large. Okay. So that will kind of cover most of your tens and your hundreds. Now, from this point, you're going to follow with your slope. So your slope is telling you you need to rise up 1. Now, going from here at the point to the next hash mark is not one full step. Okay? That's basically a half a step. So we need to do one full step. So that's going to be in between, what, 2 and 3. And then we're going to run in the positive direction to 7. Okay? So we rose up 1 and we ran to 7. So it's a very low gradient. So now, let's look at the red one. The red one is telling me I need to start at -9. So here's -9. That's my very first point. That's my y-intercept. So from there, I'm using the slope. So now let's take a look. It's saying my slope is -5 over 2. So normally I would have to go down 5. As you can tell, you won't be able to. We ran out of room. So that's the great thing about negative slopes. As long as the numerator or the denominator is negative, it does not change the value of that slope. Okay? So you're not making both of them negative, because when you do that, you're making your slope positive. So for a negative slope, one or the other, the numerator or the denominator, is going to carry that negative value. So that means I can go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but go to the left 2, 1, 2. Okay? So if I wanted to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go over 1, 2. And this will be the graph representation of your second equation. So if I drew this super accurately, which I didn't, but it looks like the point of intersection, which is happening right here, is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly around negative 4, and possibly at 1. Okay? It might be like 1.25, but it gives you a quick reference. I went over 8 instead of 7. Oh, I did, didn't I? Thank you. One full step. All right, thank you. Is that quad money? Quad money, thank you. Yes, tick marks is what I call my markings. Okay. All right, so roughly, so that'll be your point of intersection. And again, once you figure out one of your equations, this is a bit much. So you could have gone and done substitution or elimination. Okay, so if they want you to get the graphing, once you figure out what one slope is, and you find it positive, you figure out the other slope is, see is negative, you know that they are going to intersect. Okay. So if they ask you, that's graphing, and that takes a little bit of time. Or we could do our elimination. See how fast this is. So for our elimination, we have our x minus 7y is equal to negative 11. And we have our 5x plus 2y is equal to negative 18. So I notice that this has a 1. So I'm going to go for the one that has a 1 as an exponent. In order for me to cancel out my x's, because that's what I want to eliminate, first they have to be the same number, and second, they have to be different signs. So if I took this x, I need to multiply the whole thing by not just 5, because then it will be the same numbers, but I need for it to be a negative 5. You're going to see why in a moment. Okay, I'm going to see why in a moment. So when I distribute this 5, this negative 5, to everything inside of the parenthesis, we're going to get negative 5x plus 35y is equal to 55. And the equation that's underneath, I'm just going to write underneath. Okay, normally I do not do all this work. I'm just doing it so you guys can see the difference. And if given an opportunity for the GED, ASVAB, TEAS test, and ACCUPLACER, that you can figure out which way that you want to solve it. Because the reason why I multiplied that first equation by negative 5 is now I got negative 5x plus positive 5x. They cancel out. Okay. Now I have 35y plus 2y, so that gives me 37y. And then I have my 55 minus my 18, 37. And it's going to be positive because if I have $55 and I minus $18, I spent $18, I have $37 left. So dividing both sides by 37, we get y is equal to 1. Once we figure out what our y is, we need to plug it back in to one of the two original equations. I wouldn't do the top one after I multiply -5 because I'm dealing with larger numbers. Why not go back to the original? Okay, remember I said I'm lazy. So if you go back to the original, then you have your x minus 7, but I'm going to replace the y that we found right here. And it's going to equal negative 11. So that means we have x minus 7 is equal negative 11. We're going to add 7 on both sides. They cancel. They give me x is equal negative 11 plus 7. So if you owe somebody $11, you paid them $7, that means you owe them what, $4? Okay. Oh, no problem. I'm just sitting here going off. All right. Why do I feel like it's weird? Okay. Nowadays, I feel like I have to watch myself. So that means our point of intersection should be around negative 4, 1. So let's see, how do we do? Looks like we did pretty good. Negative 4, 1. Okay? So I like to show you there's multiple ways of getting the same answer. And I know when you're in school, the teacher says, I want you to do it this way. Like they invented math. You didn't. But they tried to do it to make it simplistic so it won't be so much variety that's going on in the classroom. Okay? So, but for you to understand, for these type of assessments, you will have to figure out which ways work best for you, because they're just going to say, solve the system. That's all they're going to say. And you get to pick. You can either do it graphically, but as you can tell, it takes some time. All right. If you do it through elimination, it won't take as much time. So plus a system of equations question for the GED, that's a 4-point question. Remember, the highest point value you can get per question is 4. And if you can get more of those 4-point questions and also do very well with the basic arithmetic ones, you're going to be able to pass the test. Okay? So just knowing what slopes are, knowing how to break down, figure out how to find the slope and the y-intercept, like how to start your graphing system. They'll ask you multiple questions, like how we did. Let me flip the book around. Exactly like how we did this one. They'll give you 2 equations. They'll ask you where the point of intersection is. Boom, you can do it this way by graphing. Or you can do it by elimination. So there's multiple ways, but find the way that best suits you that's not going to take a lot of time. Okay? So use the answer choices. If it makes sense, if one's positive and one's negative, well, these two are both positive. So it's going to probably intersect somewhere in this first quadrant, just in case you guys need a refresher. All right. So this one had a positive slope and a negative slope. So obviously it's probably going to cross somewhere in the second or the fourth quadrant. But depending on the steepness, yeah, it's going to be somewhere in the second quadrant, which it was. All right. Okay. So, again, for those that do not know, I am running a flash sale. Okay. So, again, if you want to donate, here is some information here. But I am running a flash sale, especially for my current summer math course to help people with GED, ASVAB, and ACCUPLACER. So we just finished the first week. We're about to go into the second week. So if you are interested into that, I am running like a quick sale. It's going to be $147. But listen, for the remaining 22 sessions, we meet twice a week. And I know some people, they're like, oh, the times are all kinds of crazy. We are going to have like a 7 p.m. I'm going to post that for the people that are in there. I'm going to give Monday and Wednesdays the option of coming on at 7 because the student that I usually have at 7 o'clock decided to switch at an earlier time because now it's summer break for him. So that means I can open up 7 p.m. So instead of 4:30, we can also have 7 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays, or you can come 7 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. And what's happening on Monday, it happens on Tuesday. What happens on Wednesday, or what happens on Tuesday, will happen on, what happens on Wednesday will happen on Thursday. There we go. I've been talking all day. It's like enough already. But we do have payment plans. Okay, so that's what I need for you to like reach out to me, or you can go ahead and sign up and get the basis of it off of, or if anything, if you need assistance, just give me the word. Just DM me, right? Just DM me. Because I'm trying to figure out what wording that I can't get a violation, and I'm just like, I'm tired of playing those games. I'm a Gen Xer. Like, enough. Like, just tell me what you want. But if you are retaking your GED, I have a separate program for you because I want to do something that's going to be geared towards what you just missed. So say that you didn't do well for systems and you want me to go over that. Maybe you didn't do well just for the slope part. And then, okay, maybe it was adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing polynomials, or the factoring. That gives me an idea. Once you give me what your results are, I can come up with a plan, and then we could either meet, or there is a course that you can just look at if you just like need something a lot better, like on-demand videos, and then we just meet once a week. We can do that as well. So that's called the Retake Ready bundle. But we have all those things situated. So that's why I really want you to reach out to me first so I can guide you in the right direction. Like if you know that you're going to take the retake in December, well, it doesn't make sense for you to join the summer program because you're not going to remember. Because we're trying to, at the end of August, you are taking the test in September, like early parts of September. Like you're going to register in August for the September's test. Okay, so that is the ultimate goal. So if you are really interested in that, please reach out to me. Okay, if you want to give like a donation right now, I would greatly appreciate that because I am raising money to try to stay in my home. So it's just like, I just really want to get things done. But if you're a tutor and you need some assistance with TikTok, or maybe even just certain parts of your tutoring business, I can help you with that. Like getting clientele and getting my leads, that's not the problem. It's just because at the end of the year, a lot of my kids, if they scored an A in their math class, they were exempt from their finals. And that was a new thing. That was happening in Florida and Texas and some parts of California. And where else were they doing that? Where else were they doing that? No, that was Florida. No, that was Georgia. So I lost a lot of revenue because the kids got A's in their math classes. So it's a teeter-totter type of thing. It's like, yeah, it's good, but not for me. So I'm just $2,400 short for my mortgage, and I just want to be able to pay that and be able to keep doing what I'm doing. So any kind of donations, that would be awesome. If you're interested in courses, that would be awesome. Please reach out. If you're paying for the books, I have the books on my TikTok shop. These are the math notebooks that I have here that we just completed notes in. If you're interested in buying one and getting them ready for next year. But if you want, we also have the Audrey's notes, okay, which is a copy of all my notes since February 2nd. And again, if you look at it, they all give you a QR code that you can scan, which will take you directly to a YouTube channel that you can actually follow along step by step. How did I get all of my answers? So it's used on basically both sides of the book. Okay? I know, victim of my own success. I know, it's crazy. Oh, your daughter needs help with Algebra 1? Go ahead, please DM me. Because after this, I'm going to check all my messages. So if there is anything, so we can get started and see what you're doing. If you know of any way, can you teach? Yes, I can. I can definitely teach Algebra 1. Algebra 1, Algebra 2 is my jam. But still, at least I can get her situated with Algebra 1. Yes. All right. Yes, I can. Right? So if you know of anyone that's doing credit recovery, that's another thing. If you have a niece or a nephew or anyone that's doing credit recovery for high school and they're basically trying to teach themselves during the summer, yeah, that's a good idea. No. But if you do know anyone that needs help with credit recovery, I can do that as well as summer reading packets, like math packets for your kids. I can get it done and get it done rather quickly. Not me doing it, just helping your kids do the work of it. Because I know they just want to keep kids active with math during the summer. But yeah, not having them do it last minute and they're constantly worrying about it all summer. And then they'll try to do the packet the last minute. Just give me like 2 sessions and we'll probably have the whole thing done. Okay, depending on how many packets. Yep, not a problem. Not a problem. All right. Thank you, Michael. All the little tricks and tips and everything. So if there's anything, any questions. Oh, you guys have been tapping like crazy. All right. 31.6. Good gracious. But if you have any, I almost forgot. There is a group of people that, depending on what you want to do, I always share the wealth, and this is just me. I know. But if you are thinking about going into nursing and you are having trouble with the dosage calculations, definitely follow a blessed RN. All right, she's amazing. If you want another person to help you with the TEAS, the ASVAB, and the GED, then I have my other friend, Miss Taylor from Impact Math 19. She usually comes on during the day, 1 p.m. Central Time, which will be 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you do need a chemistry tutor, you have Professor TK. I think someone asked me about physics, but that person's not on TikTok yet. Trust me, I'm trying, okay? And if you want to learn how to use the abacus, now the abacus helps children or even adults to get the adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing with that visual representation. Make sure you visit my friend Learning with Lynette. She goes live at midnight on Eastern Standard Time, and she also comes on during the day a couple of times. But she also has that midnight math, and that's not me. I know, Mike, you're about to say so, but no. If you have any younger kids that are in pre-K or kindergarten that you're thinking about homeschooling and you need some resources, visit my friend Nancy, who is known as the online elementary tutor. She has a whole lot of skill sets, especially with the reading and writing, but she was also doing like a math lab this summer. So I'm not sure how that's going. Actually, I should ask her tomorrow when I get to see her. All right, so definitely reach out to her. And then in here, we also have Robert. Okay, Robert, the AP math guy. If you know of anyone that's going to go into any math classes, AP levels, like, yes, Robert can do anything else, but this is his bang. Like, that's his whole thing. Like AP statistics, AP calculus AB or BC level, he can do it. So definitely reach out to him, start following him. He's just getting on TikTok and really starting to build a little momentum. I noticed a couple of his videos is really getting some views. I see you, Robert. Oh, on ASVAB? Yes, Liz, reach out to me. Definitely message me because I am doing some stuff for the ASVAB. Okay, last month I had three. I keep saying three. It's four. Okay, last month I had four people that went past the ASVAB. They came in and they were just like, I just want to get a 30, or I just, no, not 30. I just want to get a 40 or 42. And one person got a 52, one person got a 54, and another person got a 74, a 71, sorry, to be accurate. So not a problem, not a problem. So, I mean, hey, yep, that is your jam, Robert. Yes, please. And if you know of anyone else that needs assistance, like I'm here to basically remove this math barrier so you can be successful. Okay. And I will work with what we got to work with and like try to figure out what our time zone is, or not time zone, but time span. Like, because some people are like, oh, I want to get it done next week. And I'm like, when was the last time you were in school? Like 7 years ago. Okay, no, because I'm going to be real. Okay. But I really think that if you want to get it done, let me help you get it done. All right. Okay. You got a link? I do. I'm not sure if it's going to show up on here, but I don't know. I might get dinged for this. Like, you're sending people away. Okay, well, you message me. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link because I don't want the TikTok people all of a sudden take me off of TikTok because I'm sharing my link with people. I know. But as soon as I get off of here, Liz, I'm going to jump on and I'll message you right back, okay? All right. Thank you. All right. So, if anything, if you can support, I will greatly appreciate it. If you want any of the replays of my live, give me a few moments because TikTok has been very slow today and I was trying to upload some lives earlier. But usually a listing of all of my lives are on my YouTube channel, which is Audrey Codner, MC, ACG Math Tutoring. But all of my replays of my lives are located there. So if you need anything, you can go there. All right. Okay, so I will be live again tomorrow. Tomorrow during the day, I'm going to be talking about the flash sales of all the courses and everything. But I will be teaching at 9:30, but it's going to be a quick, literally 1 hour. So I'm going to be working on system of equations, but word problems. So I'm actually going to just do a whole list of word problems, and we're going to be breaking down how to solve those system of equation word problems. Okay, so that's all we're doing for tomorrow. Okay, I got scared. I was like, wait, what's that? All right, so if any questions, please let me know. If you know of anyone that is thinking about doing the GED, guys, do it. Just do it. Stop. You already procrastinated enough, okay? You guys got it. You just need some guidance. You need someone to tweak it and just to show you how to get your answers quickly and effectively. And remember, you don't need to get 100% on it. You just need to do extremely well to feel proud, as well as to get the job done for whatever your future lies. All right? All right. Okay. Thank you so much for the likes and attentions. I will see you guys throughout the day tomorrow. If you know of anyone promoting the sales, you can definitely click the link. If you want to donate, again, I have my Cash Apps, my Venmo, but if you have Zelle, just let me know. Also, you can use the link. There is a donation part that's part of the link in my bio. All right. Okay. Vanessa. Yes. Okay. All right. Will do. I will do. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to end up. Robert and Pog, are you guys okay? Because I didn't want to end in the middle of your conversations. Because if so, why don't you two follow each other? If you're not following each other already. Okay. All right, so you good? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? Nero? Okay. Are you good? I was like, I think so. Okay. All right. The donation. Okay. So I just want to make sure that you and Robert, Michael, you guys are good to go. And if you are, I'm going to shut the live down. I didn't want you to be in mid-conversation and all of a sudden I don't shut the live down. Okay, you're good? All right, good. All right, Pog. I didn't say Michael. All right. Okay, everyone. Have a lovely evening. I will see you guys tomorrow. And I'm just really proud of you. Thank you so much for staying by. I greatly appreciate you guys. All right. And again, if you guys are interested in the courses, in books, or whatever, just message me. All right. Do that tonight. I'm going to check my messages now. All right. Bye. Bye now.